Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chat. So, today I want to tell you about a play called A Bad Time for Tomatoes. It is about Myra Marlowe. She is a TV actress who has decided to retire against her agent's will, who comes along with her. His name is Tom Marlowe. And she retires to a place in Vermont called Beaver Haven. Little weird name. And the people are so nice, the growing conditions, it's going to be so relaxing. She's going to write her autobiography. She's had a good career. So, this is her plan. Tom's very against it. He also wants to marry her. She's not interested in any of these things. So, he leaves in a huff. She won't marry him. And things start to unravel with the neighbors. The townspeople who are so nice turned out to be very intrusive, nosy neighbors. There is the welcome wagon, the hostess ladies, and they come in and they gossip and they have a lot of penetrating questions about Myra and nose around and so forth. And they're a pain. There is maybe a local witch, Willamette Wilcox, who's said to have gotten rid of her husband through a voodoo curse. And she is a conspiracy theorist. So she's a bit of a weirdo. And there's the man that's sort of developing a crush on her, and his name is Piney, like pine trees. He cuts trees, sells logs, raises hogs, slaughters hogs, sells the meat, traps skunks. I don't know what he does with them. And he also is a manure salesman. So he stinks. Now, everyone seems to let themselves into her house without knocking. They're those kind of neighbors. They're friendly. They're just all characters and overly intrusive. So going back in her career when she played Good Twin, Bad Twin, she sort of reconstitutes her evil twin Sadie. And Sadie lives in the attic, and she's crazy. Now, really, this is Myra, working with a remote and playing recordings that she's recorded as herself. She's recorded as Crazy Sadie, and playing them in the attic and so forth, and sometimes appearing in different parts of the house, mostly the attic window, in a crazy wig and crazy makeup, so forth. And Piney, our weird, smelly woodsman, decides Sadie sounds like the girl for him. He's going to be in love with Sadie and not Myra because she sounds kooky and fun. Okay, so Piney and the other neighbors, they come over way too often. And as the play progresses, it's her dream of writing her autobiography is just constantly interrupted. She can't even grow tomatoes like she wanted to. This is her big thing. Retire, write, be at peace, grow tomatoes, putter around the house, garden, walk into town. They're just always there. They're constantly there. So the Sadie thing works on some people, doesn't work on Piney. And Piney has an axe he uses for wood, and somebody of these intrusive neighbors decides when Myra has had enough with the Sadie thing that she has shipped Sadie off to an institution, a loony bin. But someone decides, I think it's Willamette Wilcox, because Piney comes by and he forgets his axe on a kitchen table. The neighbors have decided that Myra has killed off her sister and she's tried for murder. It gets really out of hand. Now, I like the script very much. The writer has won a few Tonys. I can't quite remember what pieces, but it'll be in the description for what he's won Tonys. This is good writing. What I want to stress is that it's not townspeople stereotypes. It's not what you would expect. They're kind of what you expect, but the writing shows us there's a lot more to them. Okay? gossipy welcome mat ladies, what do they call it? The hostess ladies. They're much more than what appears in your brain automatically. They're much more. I think it's more interesting when the play is done where they're looking around her place while asking intrusive questions, but they're not like old biddy aunts who pick up your stuff and ask, what is this? What is that? It's funnier to have them go, ooh, what is that? Ooh, what is this? Ooh, is this an award? And not touch the item. That makes it more interesting. Being nice in less of a stereotypical way of just, expressing interest. And maybe this is the sort of town where everyone's door is unlocked, like Myra's door seems to be. I think it's funnier when Myra's door lock doesn't seem to work, however many times she tries it. That's an added thing. I think it's more interesting for them not to just bound in and start running their lines, but like, hello, hello. And then, in sort of a polite manner, in their version of polite, do it themselves. And not be stereotypically New England with the accents and the Cape Cod kind of accent. And, I can't even do it. It's not even worth trying. And I think a lot of people can't really do the Cape Cod accent, or they think that New England, everyone sounds like Katharine Hepburn, which maybe they did back in the 30s and 40s. It's sort of changed. So deciding that everybody who these extra characters are is just a Yankee, when Willa Mae Wilcox, just by the sound of her name, could be East Coast, but could be Southern. Okay? And if she's playing around with voodoo curses and she's a conspiracy theorist, it might be funnier if she's slightly Southern. It just depends on you. Because I respect the writer and the cast of characters and so forth, there's something wanting about, there's also a sheriff, but he doesn't really have as much time as everyone else does, that he's very economical with his amount of characters in the play. But if you want to amp this up, I would have a series of teenagers. Maybe they arrive with someone. I believe the welcome ladies having some teenagers with them, or young adults that come with them that have no lines, and they also present her with a plate of cookies, because it occurs to me that all the welcome wagon people, they always have stuff. They always have things with them to welcome you to the neighborhood, to the town. And I think it's very funny to establish that these silent people, they also look around, these teenagers, maybe there's 3 of them, and they're just sort of these little, wide-eyed goblin people, and smile and this and so forth. And the 2 ladies have rapid speech, lots of questions, lots of gossip, and the teenagers don't get to speak very much, but that's okay. The plate of cookies is offered, Myra takes one, and then she offers it to them, and they gobble all the cookies up. Okay, that would be funny. I'd like to establish them as extra people because we're talking about a crowded town, so those extra characters, there's kind of just 4, and since the welcome ladies enter as a unit, there's kind of just 3 times 3 interruptions and the cop. It's just not enough. And I think we need more when she does Crazy Sister Sadie. I think we need more action with Sadie. Maybe the teenagers are just outside of her window and she hears noise outside, and as Sadie, she opens the window and they go, and they go running, screaming away. But Sadie doesn't scare them. They think she's interesting. Obviously, Piney does, because he's a weirdo. Maybe the teenagers are just always around. Maybe every time she opens the door, they happen to be there for some reason. They go scurrying away. It just ramps up the humor and the invasive nature of this town while giving actors in your community more to do. Maybe you're doing this community theater. Maybe you're doing this in equity theater. It's always fun to have more chorus members, especially goblin-like people that don't really have lines. They laugh, they giggle, they scream. And that's all they do because everybody else has the lines and they can't get a word in edgewise. Very funny. This is a good play. I encourage you to read it. Everything will be in the description. It might be excellent for your theater. Could be great. It could be excellent for those of you that email me and say, I want something that's very Americana, but I don't want, you give me a list of things you don't want. And it's usually always the same. I don't want Music Man. We've already done American dramas like Streetcar Named Desire. I understand. You want American comedies, but you don't want the usual ones because you've just done them already. And many different countries are doing flavors of another country. So here in the West Coast of America, we do a lot of things that are Mexican oriented because they're our neighbors. Hopefully we do more things that are Canadian oriented because they're our neighbors and we think they're funny. They certainly have a lot of Canadian exports that are hilarious. And we do French stuff and so forth. So there are countries like New Zealand, Argentina, Mexico, the UK, I know a lot of you watch me, that want things that are American. This is a good one. We're not seeing a lot of comedies that happen in New England, in a Yankee area. And I think this could be good. We tend to think of Nosy Neighbors as a Southern thing or a Midwest thing, and Yankee Neighbors is sort of colder, more formal. What if this town just isn't? That would be great. It's the first time I've seen something that takes place in Vermont that isn't a stereotype. I love the nosy neighbors of Vermont. Fantastic. Fantastic. I especially like Piney. The idea that the character smells and keeps stopping by makes me laugh. A manure salesman. And his nickname is after a tree. It's really good. All right. Bad year for tomatoes. I'll have all the stuff in the description. See what you think. Could be good for you. All right. That's enough for today. We'll talk again. Thanks.